Okay, so I'm here with Ron Carr. He's the producer behind this brilliant film, Sent to My Daughter, which is a Turkish film. And we'll get on to that. Congratulations and welcome.
Thank you. It's Turkish and French and
French,
American, basically.
Well, I'm going to go straight in and say, well, if you can just give us a brief synopsis, please.
Yeah, it's basically three parallel lives who come together. They both have hardships, and they bond together, and they go on a road trip in a pickup truck in Turkey, and to find the young 16-year-old Kurdish girl's sister.
Yeah.
They escape ISIS in the middle of the night. They're being held up, and the Turkish military free them, but they're leery about any type of police or military, and they just want to literally run back to their village, which they can't, unfortunately.
Now, Ron, you've got a pretty interesting career. You've been involved in some very high-profile films. How on earth did they persuade you to do this? Because you said off camera you'd never been involved in. I know you've been involved in international productions, but a mainly Turkish production. How did they twist your arm to do this?
Yeah, well, I met a filmmaker in Romania.
Yeah.
I worked on a short a couple of years ago, and we were up for an award.
Yeah.
And I was in Europe, so I was the one who received the award for the company. And Otwin said he was going to Istanbul like a day after the award ceremony, and I had 5 free days before I had to take a flight back to the States.
Yeah.
So I met with Olgan, the filmmaker, who wrote and directed Sent to My Daughter.
Yeah.
And when they pitched it to me, I just said, wow, sign me up.
What, really?
Yeah, basically like that. So we had a contract, and my job was to find the French actress, and they wanted Melanie Laurent, but she really wasn't right for it, and she wasn't available either. But I was lucky. Through a friend of mine who's an English actor, he called up his agent. Next thing I know, I get a bio on this up-and-coming French actress, and the rest is history.
And we know Olgan, actually, because we know he's a really accomplished filmmaker. So, I mean, without preempting anything that you do, I'm guessing you knew of it, and you knew about him, of course, and that's a big in to begin with, because of course he's got history, hasn't he?
Yeah, well, I looked on IMDb,
and
he did another Syrian movie, which I saw, that was filmed in, on the Mediterranean. It had to do with the Syrians that died in a small boats going to Greece, and it was a poignant movie, and he got a few awards over the years, and when I met him, we just hit it off. He calls me his blood brother. I'm his blood brother.
That's because he wants you to do his next film.
Right.
Okay.
And we formed a company called, Czar International Pictures. And through Olgan, I'm meeting a lot of producers in Turkey and directors, and they want me to hopefully be part of their projects and try to get distribution for them too.
How does it? Because they are literally worlds apart in terms of your locations. So, say you're shooting something in the US as opposed to Turkey. But what is some big pluses about having a production that's based in Turkey? I mean, can you give us a flavour of what it's like?
Yeah, well, for me it was a great experience. First of all, the dollar was real strong last year, so we were getting 6.5%, 6.5 to the dollar from the Turkish lira. So that gave me an extra like 18% on my money, so to speak, which was great.
Yeah.
Also, the Turkish Cultural Minister's Office helped finance our movie.
Yeah.
So they basically gave us a third of our budget.
And that's a standard incentive to bring filmmakers?
That has nothing to do. Now there's a rebate of 30% in addition for foreign films.
Wow.
We didn't apply for that. I didn't even know it was happening then, but we didn't need to because they gave us quite a bit of money, which was great. They support short films, documentaries, and features if they show Turkey in a good light.
Yeah.
And it's a good story, humane story. And obviously, we were at Turkish refugee camps in the movie.
Yeah.
And they basically gave us carte blanche. We had a letter from the Turkish cultural minister. So each province that we went to, we met with the governor, and we said we need 4 military vehicles
No,
for the movie.
seriously, they supplied this.
Yeah, we wanted 4, they gave us 3.
So you're never going to get that in the States, are you? You're never going to get that in the US.
We needed police, we needed ambulances, fire engines, because we shut down a street in Iskenderun, which is on the Mediterranean, that looks just as good as Nice. So we did the aftermath of the ISIS terrorists plowing into the people in Turkey, and then we also shot in Nice some second unit stuff. Yeah. But unfortunately, Nice was very expensive.
So there you go. You see immediately. Now, what's really interesting, I know you're talking about the rebates and the incentives, but I've noticed more and more countries are doing. I mean, like Poland is a good example that this one was talking about the other day. So, which is fantastic for filmmakers, kind of what they're trying. They're encouraging you.
Well, yeah, I have probably 10 projects that I'm attached to, and I'm excited about it because nowadays you don't have to spend $3 to $5 million on a movie. You know, for $500,000, you can get a lot of bang for your buck if it's a psychological thriller and not a lot of actors, not a lot of stunts and explosions. You could put together with the right crew a great team, and with the rebates you get from, like, Greece gives you 35%.
Incredible.
100,000 minimum spend. Malta, the same thing, 100,000. The budget has to be a minimum of 200,000, which is nothing. And if you spend 100,000 euros, you get back 40%.
40%?
Yeah.
I mean,
cash rebate.
That's astounding. 40% on 100. So why wouldn't you? Having said that, the conditions still need to be right, because they could offer you all the money in the world, but if it isn't good locations, or you're not going to get a decent crew or whatever, I mean, I can see the incentives there, but it still needs to be the right conditions, yeah?
Right, but as far as the decent crew, as long as you hire a European Union member from 26 different countries,
so they don't have to
you'll get the write-off.
Is that
so if
right?
I hire like a DP from Hungary and an editor from Canada, we get rebates.
I mean, how's that? And is this something that's really happened in the last couple of years, these financial changes?
Yeah, in the last 5 years, you know, some of them are just coming on board, like Poland just started in February of 2019. So it's new, and it's great. And obviously in the U.S., you have, most states are doing it now. And like New Mexico has no minimum spend, 25% cash rebate.
That's such a good thing. So Send My Daughter, I obviously know it's about, I know you're involved in it, but what was it like being involved in again, I know you've been involved in shoots that are outside the US, but did it kind of go the way that it was meant to go?
No, it went even better than what I thought. I mean, the first day I'm on the set, and I see all these trucks and all the crew, and I'm going, oh no, it was like a $10 million movie, it looked like. There was a lot of equipment. And then I realized the cost of the trucks and the crew wasn't that much. I felt a lot better after the first day, but before that, I didn't put up any money till I got there, and I started paying the crew every week. My job was to pay for the camera equipment and the crew and the gas for the trucks. Okay? Through the municipalities where we shot in Hatay, which is near the border of Syria, and up till 1937 it was part of Syria. The French gave it back to Turkey in 1937. That was, so we met with the governor there, and we got, for 4 weeks, there was an owner of a hotel who really believed in Olgin and our project. We got 48 rooms for free for 4 weeks with breakfast every day, in a nice hotel with a spa. It was really a nice location.
Good luck trying to get that in LA.
Yeah.
That's never going to happen, is it?
I've spent $5,000 to $10,000 just to park 10 trucks in a parking lot in downtown LA. Yeah. Sometimes more. Now you can't even find a parking lot because everything's built up in LA.
So I've spoken to lots and lots of producers, of course. Are you very hands-on in terms of, because ultimately at the end of the day it's your money, right? Well, I totally understand it, but are you very hands-on in terms of being there?
Oh yeah, I was there every minute.
You're there all the time, but
I was there all the time, and I was even buying. I realized during the day, you know, the crew gets a nice catered meal every day, but they don't have really craft service other than water.
Right.
And it was hot. We were shooting in July and August.
Oh, okay.
And one of the PAs, he always forgot to get ice. You know, so we had water, but no
cold.
ice.
Yeah,
so I would always make sure we had ice. I would buy snacks for the crew. Every day I went out of my way, out of my own pocket, just to give them some snacks, and they were so thankful. And every other week I'd buy like 2 tins of baklava, because they told me that's the producer's job, to give them the baklava.
Yeah.
So they loved that. And it was great. I mean, literally every day I had to go. I wasn't able to take money out of my bank account, like from Wells Fargo, and get like a nice amount each week.
Yeah.
So I was only allowed to get 8,000 Turkish lira a day.
How much is that?
That's between, at the time, 1,400 and 1,600 US a day.
Per day, right.
It was 4,000 out of each ATM. So in a way it was good for me, so I didn't take like 10 or 20 grand out at a time. I only took 1,500 a day. And it was funny because I'd go with the line producer, who was also the editor, and sometimes I'd have to remind him, hey, we have to go to the mall to get the money. I was looking forward to paying. For 40 years, I've been getting a paycheck, mostly from studios and independent production companies, and here I'm paying out of my pocket, and I loved it. It was a good feeling.
And when you look back at your career, over everything you've done, would you change anything if you had the chance to do it all again?
No, I was pretty lucky. When I started, there weren't a lot of location managers in the business. Now there's probably close to 1,000 all over the world. When I went, there was maybe 10 film commissions. So I would go. They'd send me to Canada a lot and Spain. Like I worked on a movie called Fat Man and Little Boy with Roland Joffe, and I'm in Paramount Pictures' office, and he's looking at me with a straight face and says, Ron, I want you to check out Spain, Mexico, and Canada. And I'm going, am I hearing right? Usually it's, we want to shoot, we want the look to look like those 3 countries, but we have to do it in a 30-mile zone.
And what's that, I was supposed to get the look of Los Alamos? Is that what the idea?
Yeah, well, that's interesting you bring that up. We had to create Los Alamos circa 1937.
Oh, cool, Manhattan, right, okay, Manhattan.
For the right turn, because there was nothing there. They built, the reason they went to Los Alamos, Robert Oppenheimer went to a private camp, a boys' camp in the summer in Los Alamos, and he realized he said, wow, it's very remote, so this would be an ideal place to build our research, you know, barracks and labs and stuff. So that's where they built it. So what I did, I shrewdly called up UCLA Geology Department and USC. And I spoke to both heads of the department, and I told them what I'm looking for. And I believe it was USC said to me, Ron, check out Durango, Mexico. It had the right elevation, 6,800 feet. And it literally looked just like Los Alamos without any buildings. Same pine trees and everything. So the governor of Durango lent us his twin-engine biplane.
How nice.
And, you know, I'm sitting next to the pilot, and all of a sudden he says to me, Ron, take over. So I'm literally steering the plane for about 10 minutes.
Fantastic.
It was really exciting. And it was a pleasure working with Roland Joffe. And I'm saying, wow, now's my chance to pitch some scripts to him, maybe, for future stuff.
Hey, Roland, there's a film I'm thinking about called The Missionary. How do you feel about that?
But all he wanted me to do was tell him stupid jokes. So I had to rack my brain over like 30 years of jokes. And that's what I did most of the time when I was with him, telling him old jokes. But it was a great experience. But I would say shooting in Turkey last year was the best experience I've had in 40 years of working in the business.
Oh, that's lovely. Ron, thank you very much for that. Absolute pleasure to talk to you. And
yeah, my
congratulations
pleasure.
for this film.
Thank you
very much.
Appreciate it.